Looking for help from abroad are the rebel leaders, Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa, who occupy Carranza's presidential palace in Mexico City when not out raiding the countryside. But when help does come, it is for their enemy, President Carranza, and it comes from the United States. Wilson has decided to recognize Carranza so as to discourage further German adventures. Part of the deal is to transport some of Carranza's troops through United States territory in order for them to get at rebel forces below the border. Villa is enraged. He is determined to strike back at Wilson for meddling. His men stop a train which is carrying 17 American mining engineers into the northern province of Chihuahua. The train is wrecked, and 16 of the engineers are shot dead. The slaughter of the innocent shocks America. Wilson sits tight, but Villa does not. On March 9th, 1916, he sends 200 raiders across the border to burn and sack Columbus, New Mexico, and some 20 Americans die during the early morning raid. Local vigilantes form to help protect their homes and land from further raids. Now the government acts. The American consul in Chihuahua, Marion Letcher, arranges with Carranza's forces for the entry of U.S. troops into Mexico to end the Villa threat. Commanding this punitive expedition will be Brigadier General John J. Pershing, age 55. On his staff is a young lieutenant, George Patton, who favors the tactics of a Western gunfighter in the campaign. Pershing nicknames him the Bandit. Down to the border come the regulars to make ready for what's expected to be a mere parade into Mexico. Villa is as good as gone now that the United States cavalry is here. The United States Army is hardly the pride of a first-rate power. Stepchild compared with the Navy, the regular army of the nation numbers fewer than 100,000 men, armed with machine guns which proved effective, practically no field artillery, and a total of 54 trucks and a corps of 13 planes. It is part of that hapless, down-at-the-heels army which now patrols the border and which, on signal, will dash into Mexico and into a campaign they can least imagine or fight. On the morning of March 15, 1916, from 2 points on the border, the American expedition to get Pancho Villa once and for all begins. 5,000 American troops with another 10,000 to follow, in a campaign that evokes America's frontier past. Once again, writes an officer, the great Southwest is alive with the United States Army in pursuit of ruffian bands. Not permitted by Carranza to use the Mexican railways, the Americans must haul all supplies by wagon and truck over sandy trails and winding roads. Soon the desert gives way to difficult hill country, cut by wide rivers. Nothing has been seen of Villa and his gang. The Americans not only cannot find Villa, they are often lost themselves in this unmapped country. The search is pursued with new weapons that Europe has been exploiting. 8 Curtiss Jennies make up the feeble 1st Aero Squadron. Within weeks, they have all broken down. Unlike the American frontier, there are no friendly settlers to help the troops. The Mexican peasants, who hate the gringo invaders, will give them little information. Villa is no longer the only problem. President Carranza has begun worrying about what looks like a Yankee occupation. He wants them out. The expedition moves on, despite Carranza's threats, and despite the rocks and thorns and scorpions, tarantulas and rattlesnakes, and despite the 122-degree heat. Letters and dispatches from the futile campaign filter back home, and a hue and cry is raised against the government. What can they say in their defense, those men at Washington, who sent our troops into Mexico to a foredoomed fiasco? Pershing's scout observes, "As I figure it, we have got Villa entirely surrounded on one side." Since it crossed the border from New Mexico, the punitive expedition has crisscrossed Chihuahua, tracking down Villa and his rebels. They appear, disappear, appear somewhere else. Pershing fights only 4 skirmishes with them, fails to get Villa. Within a month, the Americans have penetrated 350 miles inside Mexico. They begin fanning out to comb the province. Suddenly, a bombshell bursts upon the scene. Carranza's government forces order the Americans to stop or face the consequences. With Carranza forces blocking their way, American detachments clash with the Mexican army.